Hi, this is Peggy Miller, and this is part two of the chronic and specific section of the medical herbal podcast series. These are each 15-minute episodes. This is episode 32, actually. You should go back and listen to some of the others if you have not yet. But today, what I'm doing is talking I'm continuing on to last week's. Last week's I began the chronic and specific with muscle cramping. And muscle cramping, as I explained last week, so go back if you didn't hear that one. Basically, one of the main causes, in addition to cold and a certain few other things, is blood deficiency. And blood deficiency can both be the lack of nutrients, but it can also be the lack of supply. And when you have, some people don't make as much blood. You might also have been in an accident where you lost blood. So there can be a variety of reasons why your blood supply is lower. One of the things that can really help, and that's also just a good all-around herb for blood deficiency, is dongi. And you might have heard of dongi 4, which is an herbal formula that is really good to help increase the nutrients in the blood as well as help with blood supply. Blood supply, dongi helps build red blood cells in the bone marrow. It literally helps bolster the bone marrow. So in essence, it's also helping to strengthen bones in general, but it increases the blood supply. So it's a very good herb, and dongi 4 is a mix of it and prepared Rehmannia, Ligusticum wallacei, and white peony, all which work together to not only increase the nutrients in the blood, but also help it circulate better. And circulation is very much a part of muscle cramping or the lack thereof. And so dongi 4 is a really good one to consider as an herbal formula that you can get either in tea form or in pill form. If you go online, you can find Plum Flower is one good brand. There's others. There are a lot of good new organic brands out there. And in some of the better markets, better pharmacies, you will find the section which is pills that are Chinese and Ayurvedic based, and you should find it there. So muscle cramping. In addition to dongi 4, which just overall is a really good one to consider taking if you're experiencing muscle cramping, to give it a try, you could also be having spleen key deficiency. And I had mentioned this last week, and I wanted to talk on it more today. And spleen key deficiency can be chronic. You can be born with it. It basically is that your spleen doesn't have as much ki, as much energy flowing through it as it needs to properly perform. And one of the things that this can be related to is just ki. The other thing that can be going on, I'm going to take a sip, and probably I chose the wrong drink, by the way, before doing this, but I'm going to keep plugging along. I'm drinking a hot steamer. And a hot steamer, this is just an aside, but it's another good idea. It's winter here in Missoula. We had minus 21 the night before, and then last night was down into the low minus teens, minus 12, etc. And today it's finally up to minus 4 or minus 6. So it's getting warmer. The birds are flying again. But steamers can help. They help me feel warmer. They also, ginger and cinnamon, which is what I put in my steaming milk, helps with circulation, helps with overall maintenance of warmth in the system, and also helps with circulation. Cinnamon's a really good one for circulation. So it helps with your joints. So, but the trouble with drinking a milk product when you're going to be talking like I am right now, it gets in the throat and kind of coats it. That's not necessarily bad unless you want, a very clear speaking voice, and you're going to just have to put up with this one because I had my steamer and I'm still sipping it. But let's get back to spleen key deficiency. Okay. One of the normal formulas for spleen key deficiency, and keep in mind the spleen's job is to take the food that's been digested in the stomach to break it down way further and then to help transport it through the blood. That's its job. If it's not doing it up to par, if cold has impacted it too much, if it's too damp, if you're in a very damp climate, the spleen likes to be dry. And there's a lot of ways to help create dryness if you're in a damp climate. Climate can really impact your health in a variety of ways. Cold creates blood stagnation. Dampness can really slow down the spleen. There is a formula called 4 major herbs, also called 4 gentlemen, and it can be found in both pill and tea form. And I do make these, Highland Winds LLC, I make these as teas. So if you want to get any of these teas from me, you can. But you can also find them online. 4 major herbs, basically, the first and primary is codonopsis. Codonopsis is a form of ginseng that helps increase ki. It literally helps increase energy. So that's one of the components of spleen ki deficiency. Your ki is down. Your energy is down. You need to increase it. Codonopsis is a nice, gentle way to do that. You can use other forms like Ren-Chen, but Ren-Chen's hot and sometimes a little too powerful. So codonopsis is a really good one to try. Then there's Perea, and this is another part of spleen ki deficiency. And remember, the reason I'm talking about spleen ki deficiency is because the spleen's got to do its job. It's got to break those nutrients down and make sure they get into the blood. If it's not doing that, the system will just slough them off and you'll poop them out, and you won't get half the nutrients you've taken, even if your diet is superb. If your spleen's not working well, your diet, you'll lose a lot of the nutrients of a really good diet. And in addition, what happens when it's not working well, it creates mucus. The system doesn't know what to do with the undigested, untransported food particles. Mucus is often created as a byproduct. You'll have more colds, more congestion in your lungs, more nasal congestion, and also the system plants mucus all over the place. And I'm going to be doing future ones just on mucus and what it can do to the body and how to recognize that and do something about that. Excuse me. Yes, that's steamer talking. But back to what's in. So if you don't break down the food particles and get them in the blood, you have blood deficiency. So take Dangi 4 to get the blood more nutrients. But at the same time, if you have signs of spleen ki deficiency, which include more mucus, sometimes nosebleeds, muscle ligaments that are sluggish, like your legs are really tired, fatigue, your abdomen is swollen and your intestines don't seem to be working properly, and you often have diarrhea. Those are all spleen ki deficiency because spleen's not working well. So you got to get that. If you have those symptoms, in addition to muscle cramping, you have spleen ki deficiency. So in addition to helping get the blood nutrients higher, which is that Dangi 4, you also need to pay attention to your spleen at the same time, because otherwise you'll pump in some nutrients and then the whole system will break down again. So 4 major herbs has the codonopsis to increase ki. Then it has Perea, which helps dry up mucus, which is important because if the spleen is too damp, then you will basically, and it also has atractylodes. Atractylodes help dry the spleen. It literally helps dry up the system. When the spleen's drier, it works better. And then finally it has licorice, which helps those other three work better together. It's called a harmonizing herb, but it also stabilizes ki. So as you're increasing your ki, it helps work with the codonopsis to hold that ki level and stabilize it. It's a very important addition to the 4 major herbs. So I have, by the way, a different YouTube just on spleen ki deficiency. Feel free to watch that. I made it a few years ago. It's been well received, and it explains this in more depth. But remembering that muscle cramping, which is what we're talking about here, is directly related to blood deficiency, which inherently is often related to spleen ki deficiency, the spleen not putting those nutrients in the blood. So you got to usually work on them both. If you have no symptoms of spleen ki deficiency, but you do have the symptoms of blood deficiency, that can be just simply that you're very athletic, and so your system is demanding more nutrients to perform. And a lot of times people go, I'm not athletic, but then I'll start talking to them. You know, I do have clients, and we work on these things, and people will say, no, I'm not athletic. You know, all I do is walk. You know, I like to walk, but I'm not, I'm not a heavy-duty athlete. I'm not part of teams. Then I'll find out they walk a tremendous amount, that they're walking all the time. And then they'll often say, oh, well, and I do yoga, but that's just for stretching. And by the time they're done letting me know their physical activities, sometimes they'll go, no, I walk, but otherwise I just work. But their work is physically demanding. They have to move, load, shove, carry things around. They can have blood deficiency just because of that. They're using the nutrients in their blood more rapidly than the blood can produce them. And so that they would just need to get on Dangi 4. Sometimes they'll even add additional ones depending upon what else is going on with them. There are herbs that help just increase yin, and there's a relationship with keeping your yin up as well, which helps the muscles and ligaments. It helps cushion them, helps protect them, and when you have a highly physical job, say, then having increased yin can really be of use. So those are different components that all contribute to muscle cramping, and those are some of the herbs which you can take to directly help if you're having some of those symptoms. In addition, as I said last week, vitamin B, vitamin D's, potassium, and red meat also all are needed. Vitamins B's, D's, and potassium, if they're way too low, you're going to have muscle cramping. So, and red meat, you need some beef and some lamb. It helps keep the nutrients higher. So those need to be in your diet. So does spinach, the dark greens, all of those help the blood, help nourish the blood. So those are important as well. So keep in mind goji, dangi, and prepared Romania, and Dangi 4 and 4 major herbs as some of the formulas you need to consider. I'm over and out. These are 15-minute segments. Thanks to MCAT for putting them on, and YouTube for letting me put them on, and I'll talk to you next week. Have a great one. Okay, bye.